yet, ironically, to make this writing 7 or higher, you might say like, okay, what do I do to improve my vocabulary right now? And you understand that you're getting 6. What can you do? Dear chat, rewrite this and make it benign. Hi. So today we're going to be discussing a student's writing task 1 report based on this chart. Before I show you a sample, I want you to pause the video and plan this chart for yourself. Like understand what's happening, how you would summarize the main features, like you normally would, right? Plan a task 1 before actually writing it. It's a very important step. You don't want to skip it. You can also think about how you would organize the data. No, not just like what are the key features, but how I'm going to group it, how many paragraphs I'm going to write, which features I'm going to write where and how. All of these are absolutely crucial if you want to get a high score. If you have analyzed this chart, I strongly recommend that you pause the video at this point and have a read, see if you can find any problems yourself. Because at the end of the day, on the exam day, the only help you have is you. The only person you can rely on is you. If you can find or detect the mistakes before somebody else tells you where the mistakes are, you will train this important skill. I had to work on that myself as well. I mean, I can write, that's one thing, and being able to correct my own mistakes or seeing my own mistakes is a whole another skill. It's a skill, actually. Yeah. So it doesn't come like naturally on its own. You got to train your eyes to notice mistakes. It works best at the beginning when you check someone else's mistake, but eventually you learn how to check your own mistake. Like even if I created this work while I'm checking, after I finished it, while I'm proofreading, I pretend that this is someone else's work. So I look for mistakes. And I know the common mistakes or types of mistakes that people make or I make, so I can look out for those errors and, like fix my work. I'll go through it. Now I'll show you how I would analyze this. So first of all, we're talking about police budget, right? Like police budget means the money police had during these years in one area of Britain. And the table shows where the money came from and how they spent that money. The chart says how the money was distributed, which is a nice vocabulary, distributed or spent, allocated. We have 3 types of expenditure. The biggest one is salary, and the next biggest is building and transport. And the least amount apparently is spent on technology. Notice how trends are changing, yeah? So salaries, okay, declining a little bit, but still the biggest expenditure. Technology is smallest, but it's growing, while building and transport is the same. It's very interesting. Police budget, like where they got the most money. National government. National government is giving them the money, and that increased like slightly. Local taxes also increased, and that's like the second biggest, but the difference is more noticeable, right? Like the growth is significant. Other sources, grants also grew, but just a little bit. And so like all increasing, but one very noticeable increase. So we must mention that, like we should highlight that. And the total spending naturally also increased because like every all increased. So naturally total increase. Now you might be confused, like don't be confused if I started with analyzing this one first and that one first. Like that was not the purpose. I just looked at it for some reason first. But obviously we'll start with this because that's like the first thing, because you got to get the money first before you can, spend it. So this part is the first thing, then we talk about this one. I think we got everything right. I might also kind of explain quickly how to do the overview for this chart. So we have a lot of information, as you can see. So what do you select for the overview, which is the second, like very important part of the report. After introduction, I usually put it right away separately, so to highlight that it's significant. So if you can't figure out the chart for any reason, like get something from the first chart and at least get something from the second chart, like the main thing that stands out, okay? It should not be a little thing. From the police budget, we can extract, I mean, we're talking about budget. So what is the biggest source of budget, or where is the biggest source of money? At least say that. And then what happened to it? I mean, it grew. So let's say that at least. If you have time, if you want, if you can add it, you can also talk about all grew, but local taxes saw the biggest growth and where the most money went. It is salary. Despite the decline, it still remained the main. You see, so in our description right now, we're mentioning 2 key pieces of information. One, we're talking about comparison and contrast. Another one is trend. Since we have both of this information, right? It's movement data. So even if it's a mixed chart, even if it's a table or a pie chart, it's movement. Let's mention, a little bit here, a little bit there. All right, let's analyze the sample now. The introduction. I'm going to highlight task achievement problems, like the main idea problems was yellow, because that's like significant. And the cohesion coherence, I'm going to highlight in green. Now, language problems, grammar vocabulary problems, I'll highlight in blue. So you can see the difference. Introduction. Introduction should tell us simply what the topic is and all the key information like what, where, when. If all that is given, we should have that in the introduction. Let's see if we have it. The given table illustrates information about where the police budget came from in one British area, whereas the pie charts represent where all the money was spent. Introduction gets the job done. So there is no task achievement problem here. There is just some language problem, like language problem, for example, here. Language problem is going to be blue. Yep. Okay. So we don't need the article there, but the where, about, where, like this whole thing is a language problem. Honestly, I do not really like it. Yeah, this whole thing is a language part. Some grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, capital letter. All the money was spent. Where? That's also like a language problem. A little bit of meaning too. But we have the when, we have where, we have what. So that part is good. Next part. Overall, the main source of income is a questionable word choice. Is it really income? Income is like the money you earn, like salary is your income. This may not be really the right word choice, but anyway, it's not a big deal. We can still follow the main point. So the main source of income for the police budget was the national government both years. However, other sources brought the least amount. Okay. I'm not sure why there is however. So this is affecting both. It's affecting, let's highlight it this way. This is not really the right linking word to contrast. I mean, it's not really, yeah, okay, we're comparing the least with the main, yeah, like the biggest source, but they're not like opposites on their own. So, however, does not seem like the best use. Also, grammatically, this however is not used correctly. However is used at the beginning of a new sentence to contrast. Here, we're just comparing. So whereas or while would have been a better fit, honestly, to communicate the main idea. So we can mention the main source and the least source. When it comes to how the money was spent, initially it was mostly used as salary. Okay, now another confusing part here, which this is task achievement part really. This part kind of was a little bit of both, honestly, This is the grammar. So one little thing is affecting all three areas. This one is a task achievement problem. Why? Because when you read it like that, initially it was mostly used as salary. It means what? That later it was changed. It was not used as salary later, but that's not true. In both years, we know that the most money was spent on, salary. Even if it's like 70%, yeah, almost like 69. Still the biggest, proportion. So in both years, the information is accurate. I mean, it was spent the most. It mostly went to salary. But this writing suggests that initially it was like one thing, but later it changed. But that's not true. So that's task achievement and probably language. But in this, salary is slightly reduced for improvement of technology. Whoa, this overview has actually several problems, if you guys noticed. This part is grammatically wrong, but this one is suggesting why the salary improved. Now, this is a very, very risky thing to do, like where you explain the change, like you try to say why this one went down. So this is one dangerous thing. We don't explain the changes. We don't know why the change happened, right? And if you say like, well, look at the picture, this one stayed the same, this one declined, and this one is the only one that increased. So naturally it means like because this increased, this one decreased. But that's not really true. Yeah. So what we can do, because we cannot explain the change, we can just comment on the change. We can say like that. As spending on this increased, this one decreased. As here is not explaining it, it's just drawing the parallel, like, so this one increased and this one went down. That's it, okay? So we can only compare contrast. Again, we cannot explain. We cannot use words like because this increased, this one went down. That's not true. Yeah. So this affects task achievement. All right, if you look at this overview, main points were actually done okay, right? There are some grammar mistakes, but so cohesion we have. This part will become cohesion, coherence part problem. This kind of writing happens when you don't really get the main points, or you do not know how, or you did not know what it means to add opinion and how to avoid it. Yeah, and this is one reason why so many people get lower scores in task one. It's task achievement. It's not understanding the information properly. So if that is the case with you guys, then I recommend not writing more task ones. It is to analyze bunch of task ones, plan, understand, try to explain it like in a spoken way, not as a candidate who's going to write a report. However, look at task one writing as if you are somebody that works for government and deals with charts like that. Because if you were working for the UK government and you were trying to understand the analyze the budget spending and everything, you would look at it very differently. You would not look at it from the perspective, I have to do this and I have to write at least 150 words, I have to finish it in 20 minutes, and I have to use good language. You wouldn't be doing that. You'd be actually looking at the chart and trying to understand what's happening, and how things are changing. That perspective is very different than a person who's just trying to get the job done. It's like speaking where you just answer questions because you have to versus you answer questions because you're really curious about what you have to say. And you wonder why you would say that or how you feel about it. It's not rehearsed. You're curious about what you have to say and you're curious about the other person. You just want to communicate. That's a whole different mindset. Okay, let's continue. The primary source of money for the police in Britain. Ooh, again, we're changing the meaning, yeah? So this is affecting task achievement. It was not in Britain as a whole, but it was just one area, one part of Britain. So we gotta be careful with these little things like that. It's like, obviously it's a easy slip, but still. The primary source of money for the police was the national government. Okay, in both, it was blah, blah, roughly. Roughly should be before, not after. However, it slightly shifted up. To shifted up is not the right word choice for increased. Honestly, all of these are language problems, but meaning is understandable, right? Following this. I'm not sure what this following this is doing here. It's a language problem slash cohesion, coherence. Yeah, maybe the author wanted to vary linking words, but that's not the right way to do this. Local taxes also played an important role in the police budget. Language is very awkward, and as a result, I think it's affecting the meaning too. If you wanted to say something like that, I could have replaced it with local taxes also contributed to the overall police budget. Yeah, but that one is different than important role. It's changing meaning. So to avoid such language problems where you want to say one thing, but you end up saying something else, and you don't know that there's another construction, another structure had a different meaning, what's helpful is reading a lot of good sample answers. You get the idea and you analyze the language. You don't just read it. You read it first for task achievement, like how the information was captured, which features were mentioned. And then you read it again for language, just analyze the vocabulary grammar. And then the third time, read it now for like comparing task achievement with language, like which language structures were used, which were repeated, which are used this way or that way to communicate effectively, and which you can actually learn for yourself, like for next time, like that, especially in blah blah. In 2000, it was around blah blah, whereas this, it increased. I don't know why this whereas is here, because this is also not the best way to use this grammar structure or connect the ideas. It's not contrast. There is no contrast. All we know is that the number increased from that to that. Author actually missed the whole point of the growth. I mean, you can report and just simply say that, oh, it increased from this to that. But you could also comment on that, we're talking about this one, right? You see, all increased, but this one was, even when I'm just speaking this right now, I say all increased, but this one increased significantly. You see how I'm highlighting with my tone even. I'm stressing the significance or significance of the change. Well, when I'm talking about other ones, I'm like, yeah, they all increased too, just a little bit, but this one increased like, whoa. I need that description, such comments in academic way, not in a spoken way, like, whoa, that increased like big time. No. Other sources such as that did not affect significantly. No, that's not the right meaning again. It's language slash task achievement as they accounted for most blah blah. Fine, this part we can keep. So as you can see, there are some task achievement problems, meaning, and the language problems, yeah? Regarding the things is very, very spoken. That's not the best word to use here, honestly. Regarding the areas where the money was used, we could say maybe in 2017, salaries are the main priority. Priority is a word that adds your meaning. You sleep 8 hours a day, let's say, not because it's your priority, because that's just what you need, or that's you cannot even control. Maybe you want to sleep 5, 6 hours, but you can't. You just end up sleeping 5 hours. Is that because your priority, or is it because it's just happening? Your priority is education, but you can spend on education like 10, 15, 20 hours a day, even if it is your priority. So priority has a different meaning. Yeah, it means like what's the most important thing to you. But we can't know salary was the main priority. All we know is that it was the main spending. The main spending does not mean the priority. Stunning is used for people or for outfits, maybe. You look stunning. That dress, the suit you wore was stunning, like that. It was like, wow, it was beautiful, magnificent. But we cannot use that on task one. Maybe we could say substantial. So yeah, learning appropriate language, for task one, right? So even earlier when I was giving this, spoken version of it, I was saying like, oh, it grew like big time. Now, big time meaning is understandable, but it's not appropriate vocabulary. So you need to learn appropriate task one language. Where do you learn it? How do you learn it? Through sample analysis or through mistake analysis. 75% of the money spent for this purpose, then it was used for building. Then it was used for building and transport. Then it sounds so strange. It's not a good connector here. It was almost 17. However, only 8% of money was used for it, which made the least invested. Okay, I like the nice commenting here. However, invested is not the right word choice. So vocabulary problems, because investing is completely different. Investing is not a spending. Again, I can say on my commute, I spend 4 hours every day, but it's not investment. I'm not happy with it, I wish I didn't have to spend 4 hours on the commute, So it's different meaning. However, in 2018, the pattern changed slightly. In the sheer salaries decreased. What is 69? I mean, is it 69 million? Is it 69%? What is it? In order to invest more in technology, again, we are trying to explain why the change happened. We cannot do that. And grammar problems, salaries were decreased, spending on salary decreased, maybe. So all of these are grammar problems. This contributed to noticeably growth in the sphere was approximately 14%. I'm not sure I understand the sentence altogether, honestly. So this is both language and meaning. The figures for building and transport didn't change at all and remained the same at the same level. And I mean, okay, fine. Okay, fine. We can leave the rest. Here's the full analysis. Not so detailed mistakes, but the main issues, as you can see a lot. Yeah. So task achievement, meaning. So with this kind of writing, what do you think? Give it a score. Like pause the video if you like. Think about what you would give to this writing for task achievement, for cohesion coherence, for lexical resource, and grammar. I would give it honestly like 6. It's not better than that. 7 or higher is where we have main ideas and we don't have these personal opinions. If you want 7 or higher. If you have these kinds of personal opinions, even if you did not intend, doesn't matter, you would really decrease your score in task achievement. Yeah, like when you explain the meaning. That's why task achievement can be really high if you look at the chart with a different angle, like not from like impressing or showing off vocabulary, but you really get it and you just want to explain it in the right way without adding your personal views. That's different. Cohesion and coherence. Now, did we see a lot of structure? Now, what's good in this writing is that it has paragraphs like that. It's smooth, nicely done. We have some structural things like that. So this is about the money, income. This is or a source of money. Simply, this is about where it was spent. So it's organized in any way. And then there are some nice phrases like when it comes to other sources, but There are some, you see, wrong usage anyways, not as great. Some connectors were not correctly used. So very good for 6, honestly, but for 7 or higher, we need to reduce the number of mistakes. Lexical resource. Okay, we have some informal vocabulary that's not quite fitting, the wrong word choices. Again, unfortunately, 7 would be really too high. 6 would be a very good one. And in fact, ironically, to make this writing 7 or higher, you might say like, okay, what do I do to improve my vocabulary right now to make it 7 or higher? It's not learning fancier words, more complex words. No, no, no. What you need to do is simply use the right words. Like I could make it 7 right now by removing the wrong words and using simple words that I'm sure most of you guys know. Really, it's not that difficult to make vocabulary 7. You just need to use the right words. There could be simple. Like for example, what was these vocabulary? Instead of stunning, we could simply use as a majority. Boom, that's it. Or as the biggest. You know these words. It's not that difficult. Like invest, spend. You don't know any other synonym? Fine, use the word spend again. Show off your vocabulary in some other area. You don't know how else to paraphrase money. It's fine. Keep it. And use maybe referencing, yeah, substitution. But show up like somewhere else, like task one vocab, like increase, decrease, leveled off, like there you can show off some vocabulary. So you don't have to show off everywhere, especially when you don't know. This is how you actually show that your vocab is not really rich or advanced because you don't really know how to use even simple words correctly. For grammar, we're looking at sentence structure types. So we have this complex sentence structures here. There's a wrong grammar structure there. This is compound complex. So we have this variety there. That's nice. But then there are some silly ones like this, salaries were reduced. There is attempt. Again, the author is very close to 7 in grammar. Just use simple structures correctly. Complexity of sentences, you got this already. You got it. Yes, you have it. But correct the basic ones. So with these writing, that's what this writing is going to get. Now, what do you do after with such analysis and you understand that you're getting 6? What can you do? If you have somebody to work with that knows better, that's great. If not, you can work with AI tools now, okay? You can use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever AI tools you have, you want to use, absolutely go for it. But here's an important thing. You do not take this writing and ask like, hey, dear chat, rewrite this and make it bed 9. No, that's not how you do it. Because if you do, I promise you, you're not going to get actually bed 9 writing. Instead, you're going to get something very confusing and weird. AI not trained to write task once, it was never trained to write. So it doesn't really know. And you can't trust AI when it comes to task achievement and cohesion scores. You just can't. What you can do is hopefully work with the language aspect. You can ask like, what's wrong with my grammar here, my vocab, how I can say it better, so you can trust that. So that's what you're going to work on, okay? Because these two improved with a good teacher or with a good book that explains these aspects well. But these ones, you can improve on your own with AI. Definitely, that's where you should really use it. But not at a crazy level of like Ben 9 again, because sometimes some AI models, especially if they're free, could use words that not be actually correct, but it will consider them like Ben 9 vocabulary. But that's not really true. So what you do with AI is, first of all, you ask it for line by line or sentence by sentence mistakes. What are the mistakes in language? Show and explain each mistake, and tell me why that's a mistake. Suggest ways to improve each mistake. Then rewrite my original work. This is the prompt you give to AI, and it will show you the detailed correction. Yeah, okay. So here's example for the students. I gave this prompt to AI, and it indicated sentence by sentence what's wrong. You see, in this one sentence, there are, okay, 1, 2, 3 issues. Oh, 4 even. See, 4 issues in one sentence. It explains the problem and shows you the better version at the end for each. Next one, again, overview. 1, 2, 3, 4 issues just for the first sentence, because then there's another sentence. Again, each problem, initially not ideal. They're only 2 years. That's already clear. So here's what, potentially misleading. You can read all the explanation, but you can't just read it. You gotta have your notebook and take notes. You gotta write these down. You gotta write the original one, the corrected version, why that was wrong, etc., etc. Like rewrite that. The more you write, the better you actually remember, you understand. Like if I wanted to work on my writing, that's exactly what I would do. I wouldn't just read because by reading, let's be honest, like if by reading we could improve, we'd all be geniuses now. Because how many reading passages you have done? How many correct structures and vocab you saw in those readings? Did you memorize everything you read? No, exactly. So that's how you're not going to just memorize because you just read it. Okay. You got to write this down. You got to analyze. You got to be slow. Write everything down. Don't be like, I'm going to write down only the main mistakes and the other mistakes. Hello, I'm sorry. Everything you have written that is wrong for a reason. There is no such thing as, oh, this is the main one. This is like extra. So I don't need to write this down. No, you got to write down every mistake. Take every mistake seriously, but not too seriously that it kind of makes you depressed. Take every mistake seriously and learn. Okay. We don't want mistakes, right? If you want higher scores. Every reduced mistake, every mistake improved actually gives you extra good point. So fewer mistakes you have, the better your score is going to be, obviously. Okay. So do not rush this process. Writing one task one like that can take you 20 minutes, even 30 minutes or whatever, but analyzing that one writing takes a couple of hours, sometimes even days, especially before you write another task one, I don't know, next time, analyze your mistakes. Go through like, oh, this is my mistake that I've been analyzing for the past weeks or the last two writings that I've done. I have so many mistakes that I need to analyze before you write the next one. This is how you will really, really learn and stop making the same mistakes. Okay, so you work with it like that afterwards, and then you will see the final improved version based on your mistakes. So this way, it will keep the structure of your work, you see, but it will improve your mistakes. It will express the things that you wanted to say better, more accurately. And then you can analyze this further again, like, wow, it was connected like that. Oh, it was written this way. Oh, I see expenditure. And notice how repeating the same word twice is not a big deal, okay? Especially if they're repeating in like different parts of the text. That's like totally fine. Some people freak out, like as if they can't use one word twice. That's crazy. That's not the case. That's not what language skills actually are. You can use same word twice or even three times if necessary. Of course, it depends where and how, but now this work is a really nice improvement of this. You can pause also, read it for yourself, compare with the original one, compare with the version that you had, maybe you thought about for yourself. So that's how you do it. That's how you analyze. You can also rewrite this improved version, copy it, write this down, and read, analyze over and over before you can really learn from it and move on to the next task one, right?